All right, welcome back to Crypto Front. This is the front line where we are fighting together side by side for financial freedom. We want to be taking a look at the JASMY price that once again we have somewhat of a very green day actually on the market today. We are seeing some things are up 30%, 25%, whatever the case may be. For JASMY, we're up maybe 5%, and it may not be as big as a 30%, but I believe that the market moves in tandem and rotations happens every now and then. But of course, we have got our own issues here in the JASMY community with the potential Binance delisting. We'll talk about that. And let's maybe start here with the technical analysis. We'll also take a look at the news which are propelling markets to be green today. But before I do all this stuff, I want to kindly ask you to help me spread the video by delicately tapping the like button. It really helps the YouTube algorithm, and people looking for JASMY content will now be able to find this video much more easily. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe because I do TA on JASMY and a number of other different altcoins on a regular basis. Let me know what more too much here. You can see here, one thing that is leading the markets is that President Trump may actually, reverse some of the tariffs that he was talking about, and obviously markets kind of like that. They don't like that. It's just a crazy situation altogether. I also think that another factor is that the Russia-Ukraine war is probably coming to an end, and markets are going to like that one way or the other, right? We're also seeing, Hyundai investing in the United States and probably, giving a sign that the tariffs that Trump was talking about are working. Actually, they are not counterproductive, but these are the things that are happening in the macro, but they also somehow affect the JASMY price because there's just no way JASMY is going to do superb when the macroeconomics is not looking too good, right? So yeah, that's where we are. Now coming back to the JASMY price, that we have something that is developing right there, which is looking like, as of yet, something like a double bottom, and really I would be the happiest person if this thing eventually plays out, because the breakout level would actually take us back into above at least the resistance price. So that's something like a 30-something% that can happen here for JASMY, but I think we are really way far below the neckline and the other things that we need to see as condition to say, okay, this is something that is very much legitimate here for JASMY. But I was also looking at it in this way and saying that, okay, was there actually support before this whole level here? And I ended up realizing that on the weekly time frame, we may have had a bit of interactions back then in 2021. Actually, you can see that this was holding as support for some time before the price completely broke down, right? So that's where the price visited right around that 1.2 1.1 cents basically here for JASMY. But I would say that, if you want to be as conservative as possible, you would be looking at the lower level, not the top part here, as a support level. So right now there's still a chance that JASMY can drop all the way to something like 0.0084, 0.0085 or something like that. But for now, I think that support level is still holding well, and that is okay. And we want to see that double bottom forming out here, just as I was showing you here on the daily time frame, right? If this forms, it's really, really good because it takes us back into at least above the resistance right there. So that will be a safe zone for some time, in my opinion, and it shows that there is strength here for the JASMY price. But as I was saying, that this really doesn't mean that we are out of the woods yet, but there are definitely some encouraging signs. One of the things is the RSI has reset obviously to levels where you should at least get some kind of a relief, at least a relief, right? So reliefs in crypto can actually also be very much generous, because you can pump 60%, 80%, 100% at times, right? And you're looking good. On the weekly time frame too, we are also looking at the RSI here, and it's representing the same levels that we were right around the bottom of the bear market. As you can see, we had this double bottom there, and also look at the RSI levels. Yeah, we are getting closer to those levels. So maybe this was enough for now, and we can be looking to push towards the upside once again. But it's not really the best thing only to look at the JASMY price and ignore totally what really is driving this market, which is the macro, right? And Bitcoin happens to be in there as well. But with Bitcoin, you can see that we have recovered pretty well. That's great. But if we also take a look at some underlying indicators, I think one of the encouraging things is that there was a pattern which we have had throughout this bull run, which is the RSI has been coming down. Let me just show you this nice and easy, and you get it completely. The RSI for Bitcoin has been bouncing around this level here. So I was mentioning this in my last video, saying that if we get a bounce here for Bitcoin, and we're also hitting those extreme levels here for JASMY, that will be a perfect scenario, because it means that when they start moving all together towards the upside, JASMY can do even much better here than Bitcoin. So I'm seeing that the RSI has held for Bitcoin on the weekly time frame, and we are beginning to look a little bit stronger. However, there's still resistance on top, and yeah, this is what is complicating the picture here. So let's see what happens in the coming few days. But I have to say that the general macro conditions right now are getting softer and softer. Once again, we're not yet out of the woods, but yeah, let's see. I'm really cheering for the JASMY price to go ahead and break at least that resistance by the big zone, which I'm gonna just quote in a second here. So this actually begins right from 0.0, I mean basically 1.5 cents, and rising all the way up to 1.7 cents. So yeah, let's see if we can get above 1.7 cents. Then the next thing that we're going to be looking forward to obviously is looking at the usual indicators, which are like the 50 daily moving average, which you can see that obviously if you are above it, yeah, you have got fantastic price action. I mean, if you're below it, I mean, this is lights out. So these are the things that we're going to be looking forward to in the next few weeks or something like that. But I hope this week also ends up being a fantastic one, just as we started it on the green. I mean, JASMY is only up 5%, but I want to think that if we didn't have that drama with Binance, with the potential delisting and stuff like that, we could be seeing better price action here for JASMY. But let me also show you how it's actually much more like noise in my humble opinion, because I don't think that anybody's going to be voting to delist JASMY. Right? Nobody has, that kind of intention, in my opinion. I mean, people can be bad, but I don't think they're that bad. So I'm not really worried if the vote comes out in favor of JASMY. I mean, that's pretty cool. JASMY stays in the monitoring zone, but really, you have to think about it. What really has happened with JASMY in the monitoring zone, right? JASMY has pumped 20x. Let me show you the evidence right there. I remember when it was put in the innovation zone at that time before it was called the monitoring zone, it was right here, and I was celebrating that day, saying that we're breaking resistance. Then boom, the news broke that JASMY was going to be put into the monitoring zone or the innovation zone at that point. Then the price obviously crashed 60%. That was not too good. But then again, you have to look at it, from a far distance and realize that after that crash, the price still managed to pump up something like a 20x. So if you can pump 20x within that monitoring zone, as long as it's not delisted on Binance, I should be saying, I think JASMY is still fine, right? However, if it gets delisted, which at this point I wouldn't know their intentions why they are delisting it, yeah, that's not too good, right? It's probably lights out for the JASMY price, and that won't be too good for you, for me as well. But it is what it is. I think for now, I don't think anybody is going to be coming to vote, to delist JASMY. Everybody's going to be voting, I mean, to keep it on the exchange at least. So as long as it's in the monitoring zone, I mean, that's still pretty good, no problem right there, because it has shown in the past that it can pump 20x. Now, mind you that, I mean, during this period that JASMY has pumped 20x, most altcoins didn't do anything. I mean, think about Ethereum, for example. It pumped, I think it was 300%. That's a 3x right, compared to a 20x. That's something that is, I mean, too good for the JASMY prices. So I think in the next few days, we want to see how this plays out, right? Is it going to be a double bottom eventually and take us, close to 1.7 cents, which is obviously above the resistance level right there. But I also have to mention that, yeah, this week may not all be positive still, because there is a potential that the Bitcoin price comes back to somewhere around $84,000. The reason why I'm saying that is because there's a CME gap right there, and we have seen that the Bitcoin price tends to feel this within the week, right? So at some point this week, we can expect that price of $84,000 for Bitcoin. That would mean a 4% drop in Bitcoin. That can also be not too good for the JASMY price, but still, I think that the main focus is going to be like, how does this double bottom play out here? So whatever the case may be, even if we drop down a little bit much more, let's see how the price is going to be reacting around this level. So this is the pattern that I'm watching in the next few days for JASMY, to see if we can get above that 1.7 cents. And from there, we are looking at, again, the general market conditions. Is the stock market performing well? Because if that is not performing well too, I mean, we are not doing anything. So today the stock market is good. Let's see, with more and more positive news coming into the market, if this thing is going to be getting much better. So that's where we are. I want to thank you so much for watching the video. If you could, please delicately tap the like button, share the video with your friends and family, and then I'll have to see you on the next one. Take really, really good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.